passion is there. That, of course, was the wonderful Ireland's Call as sung by the Irish rugby team. Not quite the High Kings at the Aviva Stadium last February. The anthem, of course, which has been taken to the hearts of the Irish team and the public and became a unifying force for the players and fans from both north and south of the border, which is just one of the reasons why we're delighted to welcome its creator, Phil Coulter.
Phil is, of course, one of the most revered and popular Irish songwriters of all time, having penned the likes of The Town I Love So Well, Scorn Not His Simplicity, as well as such Eurovision greats as Puppet on a String and Congratulations. And he's now on the road again. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
As you say, those boys weren't hired for their voices.
No, but God love them. I mean, they're giving it socks. You can't ask for more than that.
There's no shortage of passion there, is there?
But the way the Irish public took to that.
Not instantly, Simon. Not instantly.
Yeah,
no, there was a fair bit of begrudgery to begin with. There were all kinds of conspiracy theories that, you know, it was some kind of a northern plot to unseat the Soldiers' Song. I mean, it was what it really was. The IRFU were confronting what had been a bit of an elephant in the drawing room for a long time, which was that, you know, because there are players in the squad that are from the north, supporters from the north, and from the unionist tradition, and for them, I Run the Vein is not their national anthem. No, you may not agree with that, but you have to respect it. So they asked me if I could come up with a sporting anthem that would be that kind of unifying thing.
Where do you start that process, Phil? Because that's a huge commission to be given.
It was kind of scary thought, but you can't overthink it, you know.
No.
The tune came readily enough because, you know, that's what I do, write tunes. And it had to be something that would be readily accessible to the supporters. The tricky part was the words. Yeah. Because, you know, you couldn't use words like united, we'll go forward in case you know, it would kind of offend sensibilities in the north. It was almost like a spell check running through, you know, when you're writing the lyric. Those kind of words are, you know, go forward wearing the green or whatever.
So how many drafts did it go through, Phil, before you ended up with the finished?
A lot. Really? And it was the key to what I finally got into it. I thought this is going to work. Was the 4 proud provinces? You know, that was rather than the 32 counties or Ireland United or whatever. The 4 proud provinces, and then, you know, it kind of followed from there. But it took a while before people took it to their hearts. I think on that historic occasion when we played England in Croke Park, I think that was the time. That was the time that it finally kind of got accepted. In
the realm of all the things that you've done, and we touched on 100th of it in the introduction, and our notes are stuffed with names of people who you've worked with across the years. Being there for that day and listening to that or watching that at that match, that must rank up there amongst the best moments.
It's a different feeling, Simon, you know. You can't quantify that in terms of records sold or royalties earned or whatever. That's a different thing, you know, if you hear, like, you know, the full stadium singing your song. And here's the thing as well, there's that sense of, like, when I fall off the perch, they're still going to be singing that song. You know, there's that sense of having left a bit of a legacy. And that's certainly something to be proud of,
It sure is. But, I mean, going back over your career, and listen, we're interrupting your touring dates here, which we'll talk about in a moment, but Puppet on a String winning the Eurovision, Sandy Shaw.
Yeah, I hate to tell you, that was 50 years ago this year.
50?
Really?
50 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
It was. I had a kind of soft spot for, well, it was Puppet on the String in 67 and Congratulations in 68.
Yeah.
I had gone to London in like 65. I'd finished university, and of course, my parents' dearest wish was that I would go back to St Columb's College.
Of course.
Before it became famous as the only college that has produced 2 Nobel Prize winners, John Hume and Seamus Heaney. So my parents, after I'd studied music in Queens, I thought it'd be a nice job to go back to St Columb's and teach music. When I announced that instead of all of that, I was going to go to London and try and get into the pop music, there was consternation in the household, you know. My father, I remember very well, my father just shook his head gravely and said, "Mark my words, boy, this will all end in tears."
Really?
Oh, aye, because it was high risk, you know. And my mother was saying novenas and lighting candles and going to mass every morning in case I would end up in the streets. So, first few years in London were very tough. Just trying to get a hold in the music business and trying to avoid all the cheeky letters from the bank manager. You know what I mean? I was living hand to mouth. So, Puppet on a String, Congratulations, have a very special place in my heart. Not only did they get the bank manager off my back, they got my poor mother off her knees.
Yes.
So that was the big breakthrough, you know. So still would be very, very close.
But it's lovely that she would have realised that. you know,
Yeah.
that you were right, you did the right thing, you followed your heart.
It's funny, you know, people ask me about, you know, when did the penny drop that, you know, that things were beginning, the planets were beginning to come in line. And it wasn't at the Eurovision final in Vienna. It wasn't when we were brought on stage and given the award. None of that. It was when a week later, the mayor of Derry decided to give me a civic reception in the Guildhall in Derry, which meant a glass of dry sherry in 20 minutes and then out the door. But the point is this, they sent a mayoral car up to our little terrace house to pick up my mother, father and me, and all the neighbours looking out. There's Coulter's looking.
You see, that means so much, doesn't it?
My mother, well, that was it. That was it. That, for me, that really crystallised what it was all about.
Well, as the grandson of a dairyman or dairywoman myself, I can imagine what that meant to your mum and to the terrace, to the neighbours.
Oh, of course.
Can
you imagine?
Of course, yeah.
In the community. But there's been so many other high points. I mean, you've written songs for the Bay City Rollers.
Guilty as charged.
Listen, like an institution, aren't they?
I keep telling Louis Walsh that the Bay City Rollers were far bigger than any of his bands, which is true. Which is, because roller mania was a kind of global phenomenon. You know, there was a sea of tartan that went from South America all the way to the Far East. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun.
We talk, Phil, to we've had a lot of musicians and performers on the show, and I think no more so for myself being an actor. I think, is it on stage where you feel most at home, or is it in the studio?
Well, that's a good question. It wasn't until I actually hit 40 that I even thought about going on the stage at all. I was quite happily making my career, Simon, as a songwriter and a record producer and an orchestrator. And then I made one album, Classic Tranquility, which was something that I'd promised myself I would get around to doing. So, you know, when you hit your 40s, you think, now it's time to do those kind of things. And it was simply I wanted to record an album, you know, with the piano and strings of the kind of tunes I'd grown up with. You know, lovely melodies. When you're a songwriter, you realise how hard it is to write those kind of tunes. So I thought I'll make an album of those great songs, and that'll be that, and I'll park that, and I'll go back to what I really do.
But it went...
Yeah. So that then kind of propelled me into a different area. So when I did my first bunch of concerts, and I was really scared. I was so scared that I couldn't hold the audience's attention for a whole 2 hours. I got Neil Tobin to do the first half of the set.
Really, to warm them up.
Nervous.
No better,
so it was a confidence thing.
No better, man. But yeah, so it all gelled then. And then I discovered that, you know, for years, being a songwriter, being a record producer, it's a pretty solitary thing. Once you go on stage and you're singing your songs to the audience and you're getting a feedback from
and
the
they
audience.
start singing them back to you.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, when they join in and sing Ireland's Call or Steal Away or any of those songs, it's a great feeling to know that, you know, I'm getting that feedback from them.
And it's instant, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing. If you know, if you can leave a few songs that have passed into the public domain, you know, when we embark on a career as a songwriter, your ambition is always to write a few pension songs. Songs that keep going. I mean, a song like Congratulations, I keep saying, has fed, clothed and educated a couple of my children.
Of course.
And God knows I have enough of them. But it's great when you have a song that keeps going.
So tell us about the tour. Where are you next?
Well, we're about 8 shows in, Simon, to 28 dates.
Wow. Okay.
We did the concert hall last week with the full orchestra and all of that. We did the Cork Opera House and some of the big shows up the north. But now we're in the one-man show version. And we're everywhere.
You're in Dunleary tonight, are you?
Dunleary tonight, great little theatre. Here's the wonderful thing.
Lovely theatre, the Pavilion.
12, 15 years ago, those theatres throughout the country, there are wonderful theatres that are like 200-300 seaters, which means I can take the one-man show around the whole country. So we're everywhere. We're from Tralee up to Letterkenny and Donegal and points in between.
You're all over. The
well, long
website
may it continue.
Be up on the screen.
For coming in, Phil.
Oh, my great pleasure.
We'll give you a bit of stew now.
Bit of stew.
You can enjoy the stew now.
You guys live high on the hog and TV3, but I'll tell you what, you serve the worst coffee in Christendom, that's for sure.
Sorry,
we make up for it with the stew.